Alright, we should be live. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and welcome along to the coverage of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We have got 50 laps waiting for us, 50 laps of racing waiting for us. We'll be starting in 30 minutes' time for the formation lap, and then, of course, we'll have the race to begin after that. Um, every single driver has made their way out of the pit lane and on towards the grid. Colapinto is in the pits. That is explained by the fact that he had to get his car repaired after qualifying yesterday, and a lot of different parts were used. And because of that, he'll have a different setup, a different set of parts, and start from the pit lane. All right. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I've this time I've remembered to, I've got my coffee, so hopefully I'm a little bit more awake than I was yesterday. But yeah, nonetheless, we'll jump right into the sort of the build up to the Grand Prix. So yes, Colapinto yesterday was declared fit for the race after having a 50G qualifying crash, a very, very big crash. Indeed, all four parts of his car, all four corners of his car were broken. But yes, he'll be starting from the pit lane. The Williams had to do another serious repair job overnight, and yeah, his pit lane start has been cleared. So that's what's happened there. Guan Yu Zhou starts in 13th place. Valtteri Bottas, who's going to be at the back, took a 5-place grid penalty for an additional power unit element, so that's why he's dropped down from, I think it was 17th, down into 19th now. Yeah, and that's about it for grid position changes. Just Valtteri Bottas with a 5-place grid penalty and Colapinto in the pit lane. Let's see. Williams have spent their development money. Yeah, Williams have spent a lot of money repairing their car. Part of the reason why they fired Logan Sargent was because he was crashing too much. But then they also made the decision to bring in a rookie, which probably wasn't the smartest idea if you want to prevent crash costs. Yeah, so they have suffered the consequences, and well, they have got they've spent still an awful lot of money on just crash costs. So we shall see how they manage with all of these things. Okay. Oh yeah. Hello, OG Ninja. Good morning, everyone. All right. Will Franco join the race? Yes, he will. I might as well just run through the strategy. 50 laps of racing, that's going to have some interesting strategy choices. It may be a one-stop, probably due to the low tyre temperature, yet Pirelli have suggested the fastest strategy will be start on the medium tyres, then go on to the hard tyres and just do a one-stop strategy. However, the second fastest strategy, start on the mediums and then do 2 stints on the hards, so you can push hard on all 3 stints rather than just conserving your tyres for the entire race. So with track temperature at 18.8 degrees, air temperature 18.4 degrees, maybe that's slightly higher than before, but however, in the grand scheme of things, 18-degree track temperature is very, very low. So I think what a one-stop could be possible. But however, if there's a safety car, I think a 2-stop would be the optimal choice to go for. The drivers will lose around about 21 seconds in the pit lane under green flag conditions. They'll only lose 13.5 seconds in the pit lane under virtual safety car or safety car conditions. So yeah, in last year's race we had both the safety car and the virtual safety car, so maybe we'll see that repeat itself this year. If we look at the race pace simulation, McLaren looked to have the fastest race pace, Ferrari second quickest, just less than a tenth behind, and then you've got Mercedes and Red Bull on equal footing, both 1/10 behind the McLarens and the Ferraris. So you've got the McLarens and Ferraris in the top 2 fastest teams, and then Mercedes and Red Bull the third and fourth fastest teams. but both of them are fairly equal. And well, that's going to be interesting because McLaren, of course, they qualified in 6th and 8th position, not their best qualifying. We would have expected their car to be quicker, and maybe it is in race conditions. However, they're going to have to make quite a few overtakes if they are going to get themselves onto the podium. Ferrari as well, they're going to be pretty quick in a straight line. We'll see what George Russell can do, and if he can. Well, if you can stay ahead of Carlos Sainz. Pierre Gasly, I've got to say, what a fantastic job that he's done in qualifying. This is his highest ever qualifying record. Previously, it was starting in 4th place. Now he's starting in 3rd place. A fantastic job in that Alpine. After getting a podium last weekend, he's now right back on form. I mean, he was on form since, I think it was Austin. Since the US Grand Prix, he's really been pushing the limits and managing to outperform that car significantly. And here he is, now in 3rd position. It's going to be very exciting to see what he can do. All right. Let me just disable the adverts. There we go. And folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It hugely helps out the channel. And yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. We've already got 1,200 people tuned in for the start of the Grand Prix. Fantastic. Is the Red Bull rear wing fixed? Yes, the Red Bull rear wing has been fixed. It was fixed overnight between Friday and Saturday. They had not actually brought the wrong rear wing. They had just set it up incorrectly. So they changed how they set it up, and come along to Saturday, and everything was fine, and their top speeds were as expected. So yeah. All right. Let's see, weather update. It is totally dry. Chance of rain is 0%. It is Las Vegas, of course. It is basically in the middle of a desert. So, yeah, chance of rain, very minimal. And very, very good, really. Okay, I saw they used a saw to cut Max wings. I saw that, lol. Interesting. Okay, so, I'm not sure. Well, I guess if they've done that, then maybe that was pre-designed into the thought process of the wing. Like you have the ability to do that. I don't think soaring Max's wing is probably going to be the most aerodynamic thing in the world, but well, they've managed to fix it, and they have enough downforce now. So, and they have enough downforce and the correct amount of drag for the circuit. So, I think whatever they've done has worked more than fine. All right. Yeah, Colomento's in the pits because he had a big crash yesterday, so they had to clear like a bunch of spare parts and things. They used all of those, and hence he's starting from the pit lane. All right. What else have we got to talk about? Well, we've got Max Verstappen and Lando Norris starting alongside each other on the grid. Verstappen in 5th, Norris in 6th. They'll be on the 3rd row of the grid. Be interesting to see what happens there, of course. See who'll go for the inside line and who's going to lead out of turn number 1 there. I think Verstappen might get his elbows up, but there's no need for him to. I think in this scenario, Verstappen, if he's thinking purely from a championship perspective, as long as he doesn't DNF in this Grand Prix, he's basically got the championship in the bag. I think he has to finish ahead of Lando to theoretically close up the championship and win it this weekend. But yeah, I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure it doesn't matter too much to him because he knows that if he doesn't win this weekend, he'll win next weekend. All right. Oh yeah, what are the I'm just gonna have a quick look. What are the actual requirements for Max to win the championship in Las Vegas? I think he has to outscore Norris by like 2 points or something. I can't remember exactly. And I'm once again going to blame this on me being awake far too early. Verstappen Championship Vegas. Or if someone in the chat could let me know, that would be fantastic as well. Alright, just got out of a night shift. What a day to start this live stream. I appreciate it, man. No worries, no worries. Um, okay. I think he just has to beat Norris by one position, and then or finish behind him at least in one position, and he should be okay. What position do you think Leclerc could finish? I think Leclerc might end up on the podium. However great Gasly's qualifying performances, I don't think the Alpine will have the race pace. Um, so maybe Gasly, finishes within the top 10, maybe the top 6 even, but staying on the podium is going to be very, very tough, especially in these sort of dry conditions. Last weekend they got the podium because they had the track position and they managed to just hold the threat of anyone else off. But yeah, this weekend with DRS being activated and things like that, it's going to be a lot harder to do the same as that. So yeah. All right. So basically, Verstappen just has to finish at least one place behind Norris, and then yeah, just needs to finish one place behind a Norris, and that'll be it basically. All right. Let's see what else have we got to talk about? Well, of course, we've still got the talks about Sergio Perez's seat. Is he gonna? I think Christian Horner came out not last weekend, yesterday, after qualifying. He said Sergio Perez's seat isn't as confirmed as you may think, and for next season it still may change. So we could see Sergio Perez out of a seat for next year. Of course, his performances haven't really been that good. If you look at the statistics from 2015, Red Bull have had 10 Q1 eliminations from all of their other drivers, and then Sergio Perez alone has had 10 Q1 eliminations while at his time at Red Bull, and he's only been at Red Bull since 2021. So yeah, Sergio Perez has caused more than half of the Red Bull eliminations since 2015, which is kind of mind blowing, and well, just goes to show you how badly he is performing. But the question is, if you are to get rid of Sergio Perez, who do you replace him with that you know will be able to deliver consistently? You could put in Yuki Tsunoda, and then you have Liam Lawson in the AlphaTauri, and then who is your other driver with Liam Lawson? I'm not 100% sure. You could try put Isaac Hadjar in there, but yeah, you either put in Tsunoda to replace Perez, or do you call up Carlos Sainz, get him to break his contract with Williams and say, oh, Sainz, do you want to drive for Red Bull? Or they were thinking about Colapinto. Yeah, Red Bull, I think they said that they're willing to pay like 10 million. Was it 10 million or 30 million? They were willing to pay some ridiculous amount of money for Colapinto. But is it you put Yuki Tsunoda up into the Red Bull and then you put Colapinto alongside Lawson, or do you put Colapinto into the Red Bull? I think if you put Colapinto into the Red Bull, that would end his career right there and then, because well, we've seen it happen before. When you have a rookie driver alongside a world champion, they get absolutely destroyed, no matter how good the rookie is. So, for example, Stoffel Van Dorn, 2018 was his debut season. His teammate was Fernando Alonso, and Stoffel Van Dorn came through all the junior formulas, doing so well, winning all of the championships, and setting the pace in quali, setting the pace in the race. And he gets to Formula One. Fernando Alonso, his teammate, out-qualified every single Grand Prix. Not a single time does he outqualify Fernando Alonso, and I think Fernando Alonso beats him in basically every single race, apart from when Alonso gets a DNF or something like that. And then that was the end of Stoffel Van Dorn's career. Like, he came into Formula One in 2018, and then also left in 2018. So, I didn't think it would be wise to put in Colapinto just for his career's sake. Sainz is going to Williams, however, I'm sure if Red Bull wanted to get Sainz, they would just break the contract to Williams and pay to break the contract, like the break clause or whatever, and get Sainz in at Red Bull. Do you get Valtteri Bottas in? Valtteri Bottas potentially without a seat next year. Um, because Gabriel Bortoleto has basically been confirmed for Audi alongside Nico Hulkenberg. So Bottas, a fantastic number two driver at Mercedes, and he was managing to keep up with Lewis Hamilton when Hamilton was at his peak. And so is that another option? Do you go completely out of the Red Bull? What's how do you say the Red Bull Driver Academy and any of the Red Bull drivers that have been young drivers for them, and go straight to Valtteri Bottas? Like, interesting. That could be that could be an option, but we shall wait and see. Max said it's really windy on the circuit. He is correct. The wind is 15 kilometers per hour in the southwesterly direction. It's coming from the southwesterly direction. That means it's going to be just a crosswind going into turn one. It's not going to be a tailwind or anything like that. But the drivers will have a headwind into turn number 12, which will help them out. And going into turn number 14, they might have a bit of a tailwind. So we may see some lockups at turn number 14. However, most of the circuit will just be unaffected because there are it's just crosswinds, which modifies the downforce characteristics of the car slightly, but not all that significantly. The drivers do take that into account. Sorry, not the drivers, the engineers, when they're designing the front wing or the rear wing or any aerodynamic part, they have to take into account what it would perform in optimal conditions, so there's no wind whatsoever, and they also have to take into account what would happen if the wind is blowing from a certain direction. And because if you think about it, if they've got two sets of upgrades that they could choose, like two sets of upgrades for the front wing. One gives 15% more downforce, and the other one gives 12% more downforce. However, the one that is giving 15% downforce is never really consistent if there's wind, and the one that gives 12% increase in downforce would always work no matter whatever the windy conditions are. You'd always pick the one with the 12% increase in downforce rather than the 15, because you want your front wing grip to be consistent. Yeah, so that's the kind of things that the Formula One engineers go into to look at. All right, Giuseppe, thank you for the donation. Always enjoy your commentary. Very much is appreciated, buddy. Yeah, glad that you're here at this early hour. All right, start the race already? Well, I would love to start the race. However, yeah, we are still 12 minutes away from the start of the formation lap. Is your broadcast close to the Sky Sports feed? Love to hear your commentary and scoring screens while I watch the actual live race tonight. Yeah, I'm within 30 seconds of Sky Sports most of the time. I do have to add a little bit of a delay to make sure that the data is within sync, and I do also have to have a bit of a delay when I send my live stream from my computer to YouTube, because if there isn't a delay, YouTube isn't able to process everything and send it out to you guys all around the world. So yeah, there's around about a 30-second delay. But yeah, I think if you pause Sky Sports or if you pause me and sync it up, then it should be fine. Okay, 2,600 people tuned in. Very much is appreciated, folks. This is going to be a very, very exciting Grand Prix. I mean, look at the mix up at the top. The top six drivers are from 5 different teams, so it's going to be very, very exciting going into turn number 1, and just the opening laps as well. The DRS zones, we've got 2 huge DRS zones, and especially going into turn number 14, we should have some fantastic overtaking, maybe even some crashes as well, because, well, as we saw from Colapinto yesterday, it is very, very easy to crash going through those final chicanes. So we shall see what happens. Okay. Okie dokes. Let's see. Colapinto's starting from the pits, folk, because he damaged his car from the crash too much yesterday. They had to use a bunch of spare parts, use a bunch of different parts to what they originally had on the car. They also modified his setup a little bit, and that's why he's starting from the pits. Okay. Who will hit the wall first? My bets are on Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll shall hit the barriers first. Maybe he'll do it on the formation lap. Who knows? Um, let's wait and see. Um, yeah. Okay, let me know what your predictions are for the race. We'll see what Hamilton can do as well. George Russell, of course, on pole. Hamilton in 10th position. Do those two drivers converge towards? We see this happen quite often. For example, with the Hasses. Now the Hasses are starting in 9th and 12th. However, we used to see at least one Haas get through into Q3 and one Haas get eliminated in Q1. And there'd be a very big difference in qualifying position. However, come the race day, both drivers would sort of converge upon place, 13th and 14th, and by the end of the race, they'd basically be next to each other. So maybe we'll see that happen with Mercedes because they don't have the race pace to win. Well, theoretically, they don't have the race pace to win the race. However, if Russell can maintain the lead and keep that advantage so he doesn't have any dirty air, then he could hold on to the win. But if he does lose that advantage to Carlos Sainz, say off the line or in the first couple of laps, then we could see Hamilton make some progress up the field, Russell make some progress down the field, and both drivers end up in maybe 6th and 7th position by the end of the race. Chances of a safety car are basically, well, I can't really give you the chance of a safety car. We've only had one race at Las Vegas before, and it was we had a safety car last year, and we also had a virtual safety car last year. So, I would say that we could probably get another one given how close the barriers are. I think we will get another safety car. It's fairly likely, just given the frequency of crashes that would happen around here. Yeah, technically it's a 100% safety car rate, but there's only been one race, so okay. Would love to see George or Max win. Yeah, I mean, I think George winning would be fantastic. Max has to finish behind Lando Norris by one position or just ahead of him, and he'll win the championship. Yeah, simply fantastic, simply lovely, I would say, for Max, if he wins the championship today. If he doesn't, then he'll win it in Qatar next weekend anyway. Yeah, maybe it'll be the smooth operator. He'll do a smooth operation at turn number one, and then run away with it. Because Pierre Gasly, while he's starting in third place, that's fantastic for him. However, he may act like a moving chicane on the opening couple of laps of the race. You could see George Russell and Carlos Sainz pull away from everyone else. Pierre Gasly still holding Leclerc and Verstappen back, and there'll maybe be a 3-4 second gap that just can't be closed up over the course of the entire race. Maybe during the pit stops, it goes closed up. Maybe during a safety car, it'll get closed up. But Pierre Gasly, at least at the start of this race, may be acting like a moving chicane, and it will really benefit Russell and Sainz as long as Gasly doesn't overtake Sainz going into turn number one. But we shall wait and see what happens. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Okay. How is overtaking around here? Overtaking is definitely possible. However, it is still a little bit risky to go for overtakes. We've got two DRS zones. One between, so I'll just show you on the screen there. One starts at just here on the exit of turn number 4. It goes all the way down to the entry of turn number 5. You can get close to another driver from here. However, getting overtakes into turn number 5 a little bit less likely than normal. However, once you exit turn number 12, you've got a super long straight and a super long DRS zone. And overtakes into turn number 14, 15, and 16 are much more likely. So this is the real overtaking opportunities. And what happens is the drivers go through here, and maybe you get a couple of switchbacks, or some drivers go for a late apex and try to get a good exit, and then they battle all the way down the main straight, and into turn number 1 you get another overtaking chance. And turn 1, 2, and 3, they come back on each other. It's very similar to Sector 3 in Kota, and there's a bunch of different racing lines you can take here to try and get a good exit. So, most overtaking opportunities will start at turn number 15, sort of, turn number 14, 15, but then they can continue on towards the rest of the lap. Okay. Um, let's wait and see. Just a little segue. This is why. No. What time? What time on your end? And is Franco starting? Franco is starting. He will just be starting from the pit lane. The time where I currently am is at 5:56 a.m. So you know it's all right. It's not too not well. It's not. It's kind of early, but like it's not too big of a deal. I set my alarm for 5, and then promptly woke up, and then went back to sleep, and then I set it again for 5:15. I was like, oh my god, I need to get the stream set up. So within 15 minutes, I got the stream set up and got my coffee, and now I'm a lot more awake than I was yesterday. Yeah. All right. So the race underway in 4 minutes' time. We've just got a message from race control. Risk of rain is 0%. Track temperature is 18.5 degrees, so it is about 5 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. So slightly less issues for tyre warm-up compared to what the drivers were having in quali. We saw loads of drivers do double warm-up laps because they just could not get any sort of tyre temperature into their tyres. With 18.5 degree track temperature, that should help slightly. However, still the formation lap, the drivers are going to be weaving around so much, doing so many burnouts coming down the back straight. Normally, we only see the drivers do 4-5 burnouts. However, this weekend, I expect that we'll be seeing a lot more because the rear tyre temperature will drop significantly, especially for Russell and Sainz, who'll park up at the front and they'll have to wait for everyone else behind them to park up. They'll be doing a lot of burnouts. They'll sacrifice the lack of grip, not a lack of grip, just wearing out their tyres a little bit extra for the first stint, because if you can get a good race start, then it doesn't really matter if your tyres are ever so slightly more worn out from doing a couple more burnouts. Yeah. Okie dokes. But folks, here we are, round number 22 of 24 in the Formula 1 World Calendar. We are 3 races away. Well, this is the third to last race of the season. We have got Las Vegas, then we have got Qatar, and then we have got Abu Dhabi. We've also got the Qatar Grand Prix, a sprint weekend. Yeah. You've at least slept, just got back from a night shift. Well, yeah, I think that's definitely worse than what I've just done. But thank you, bruh, moment, and hope you do enjoy the coverage, and then hope you have some good sleep afterwards as well. The tyres that we've got from Pirelli are the C5, the C4 and the C3 for the soft, medium and hard respectively. The softest of Pirelli's range. Given the low tyre temperatures, we're going to need the softest tyres. And if we have a look at the tyre strategy, we've just got the tyre information coming through. Everyone starting the race on the mediums apart from Fernando Alonso, who's on the softs, Perez, Bottas and Colapinto, who are on the hards, and everyone else is on a set of mediums. Very, very nice. Interesting to see that Fernando Alonso is starting on the softs. Maybe he's going for a safety car. He's predicting a safety car is going to happen, and then he's going to do soft, hard, or soft, medium, hard till the end of the race. But I don't think it's a bad bet predicting that a safety car is going to happen. This circuit is very, very narrow, very high speed, and the chances of crashing are fairly high. Even if you're going for an overtake, just a little clip of the other driver, you tap them ever so slightly, they're into the barrier, and the safety car's got to come out. So we shall see what happens. It is most likely a one-stop race. However, if the safety car comes out, it immediately switches over to two-stop because you gain such a significant advantage by putting on a fresh set of tyres. Okay, we are 1 minute away from the start of the race. I'm going to run you through the starting grid, and then the drivers will be on the formation lap very, very shortly. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to refresh the transcriptions, the radio messages, so hopefully we actually get some messages coming through. Okay. There we go. The messages are coming through as well now. So here we are then. We are at a 6-kilometer Las Vegas Grand Prix circuit with 17 corners and 2 DRS zones. We are going to have a lot of overtaking today, and we'll start from the bottom of the grid. Franco Colapinto, after its crash in qualifying, is going to be starting from the pit lane. All four corners of his car were damaged, and he's going to have to repair. Well, the Williams mechanics worked tirelessly overnight to repair his car, so he's going to take part from the pits today. We've got Valtteri Bottas with a 5-place grid penalty. He has got some new engine components, so he'll be starting in 19th place. Lance Stroll starting in 18th after a bit of a miserable qualifying. The same could be said for Albon and Alonso, both drivers not doing all that well. Sergio Perez with another Q1 elimination this season. He's had 10 in total at his time at Red Bull, and well, he just keeps adding to that list. It's going to be a fantastic battle, I'm sure, between Lawson and Perez in 14th and 15th position. They've got a little bit of history from the Mexican Grand Prix, and maybe we'll see some more of that. Maybe we'll see some more of the action between those two drivers. One driver in the senior Red Bull team, one driver in the junior Red Bull team. Guan Yu Zhou, after having a fantastic qualifying in yesterday and making it through into Q2, will be starting from 13th position. We've got K-Mag in 12th. Ocon, after a podium last weekend, was starting in 11th position. Then we've got Hamilton in 10th place after messing up both quali laps in Q3. He ended up without a lap time and down in the dead last for in Q3. We've got Nico Hulkenberg in 9th, Piastri in 8th. Tsunoda with a fantastic qualifying, out-qualifying his teammate by half the position. So Lawson in 14th, Tsunoda in 7th. And then we've got Lando Norris in 6th, starting alongside his championship rival. He's got to finish at least 2 places ahead of Verstappen, and with the fastest lap to keep his championship's hopes alive. However, the championship hopes are already pretty slim. Then we've got Charles Leclerc in 4th place. Pierre Gasly with a fantastic qualifying lap yesterday, up in 3rd, and we'll wait and see if he can hold on to that. It's looking unlikely that Alpine doesn't have that good race pace, but Pierre Gasly can try. And then we've got Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator, in 2nd place, starting alongside George Russell in pole position. All of the drivers here, as you can see, all of the messages coming over them to the radio, it's just about the clutch drops, it's about warming up the tires, it's about doing weaving, warm-ups, burnouts, all of these things. Everyone's really focusing on the tyre warm-ups, because with track temperature at 18.1 degrees, it is going to be very, very tricky to manage those tyres. The wind has dropped down a little bit. Earlier we had 15 km/h wind, and now it's dropped down to 5 km/h. It's going to be crosswinds for basically the entire circuit. That's the direction that it's coming from. They'll have a bit of a headwind into turn number 12. That should reduce some lockups. But apart from that, that is the wind situation. And yeah. Alright, here we go then, folks. We've got 10,000 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Very much do appreciate the support. Be sure to hit the like button. It hugely helps out the channel. DRS has been disabled, of course, as it always is, for the start of the Grand Prix. This is the formation lap for anyone that's just tuned in. And now we are about to get underway for the race. George Russell lines himself up on the right-hand side of the grid for Las Vegas. Carlos Sainz will have the inside line as they go into turn number 1. Exoteric, thank you for the donation. Hope you got a good voice warm up. Thanks for another great commentary. Very much is appreciated. Yeah, my voice is a lot better. I think my warm coffee helped out for my voice. We've just hit our subscriber target. I'm just gonna increase that all the way up to 120k. Let's see if we can do that. All right. We are about to get underway now. All of the cars already lined up. The top 6 cars already lined up. The rest of them making their way to the grid. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you think is going to win? All of the rear lights now flashing, and the last car is approaching the grid. All of the burnouts have been completed, and here we go then. We have got all 20 cars lined up on the grid. The final kick sound of Valtteri Bottas just parks up onto its grid position, and Here we go. The medical car's there at the back. The green flag is waving. We've got 20,000 horsepower revving away, just waiting for the clutches to be dropped. They've been dropped, and George Russell gets a fantastic start. Already covers off Carlos Sainz. Gasly looking to overtake Sainz into turn number one. Sainz goes wide. Leclerc comes through. It's a Ferrari 2-3, and Leclerc's up into second place. A fantastic start from the Frenchman, and now he's up into second place. Gasly down into third, and George Russell is already running away with this. This is a fantastic start, exactly what George Russell would have hoped for, and Verstappen maintains the lead over Norris going into turn number one. Piastri is up into 8th position. He re-overtakes Nico Hülkenberg, who got a better start than him, and they make their way through the second sector now, and George Russell feeling the heat already from Charles Leclerc. Leclerc really switched on his tyres during the formation lap. He got those temperatures up and got a fantastic start. This is brilliant from him. All right, all of the drivers making it through so far. No damage, no contact between anyone, which is, very, very surprising. I would have expected at least a front wing to get broken, but everyone manages to make it through with no damage. Lawson up into 13th place. Perez has dropped a position. Admittedly, Perez is on the hard tyres, so that is fair enough. Alonso, though, he's on the soft. He's going to have to make up positions if he's going to make his race strategy work in the long term. Zhou's made an overtake from 13th up into 12th as well. A very, very good job from Guan Yu Zhou. All right, DRS has been... has DRS been enabled? I don't know why they said to Ocon over the radio DRS has been enabled, but... DRS... Yeah, we haven't got the message from race control saying DRS has been enabled. However, all the team radios are saying, oh, there we go, DRS has been enabled from race control. And now on going into turn number 4, the drivers will have DRS. Look at the gaps. Everyone is within DRS range of everyone. And as they make their way on the exit of turn number 4, Leclerc has the option to use DRS. He opens his DRS flap. And, he's going to be racing George Russell in the next couple of laps. Very, very nice. All right. Living in India is good. It's 11:30 a.m. Fantastic. All right, Max Verstappen is right on the tail here now of Pierre Gasly, and Gasly's already dropped off the DRS. Oh, he looks to the inside there, and Gasly brakes very, very late, managing to hold off Max Verstappen there. But yeah, Verstappen's all over the back of Gasly, looking to make up positions ASAP and not let the front three run away with this, because every single corner that Verstappen is stuck behind Gasly, the top three are building a gap, and that gap is going to be harder and harder to chase down. So here comes Max Verstappen now as they make their way through turn number 12. This is going to be prime overtaking opportunity. He gets a good exit out at 12. DRS now enabled for the drivers as Verstappen slipstreams Gasly. The Alpine does not have the top speed advantage. He's 15 horsepower down compared to the Honda engine, and they're making their way down towards turn number 12. Max Verstappen with DRS. He's gaining. Gasly even recharging his battery down the main straight, but Verstappen's still not close enough to get an overtake done into the final corner. He might be waiting for the start-finish straight to get his overtake complete. But all of the drivers so close to the barriers at turn number 16. There's no curb or apex at turn number 16. There's just the wall. That's where we saw Colapinto crash yesterday, and we could see another crash happen there today. Lewis Hamilton, he's in 10th position still. He's trying to get ahead of Pierre Gasly. Oscar Piastri. And Oscar Piastri lost the position to Hülkenberg, on the race start. Regained it again and then lost it again. And now he's defending against Lewis Hamilton. All right, fastest lap of the race, though, from George Russell, and Leclerc's managing to stay with him, even a fastest first sector from Charles Leclerc, so he's really trying very, very hard to stay on the back of George Russell, but yeah, Russell's built that gap, and 8 tenths is going to be pretty hard to close up. Sainz has already lost DRS to his teammate. Gasly's lost DRS to Sainz. Verstappen is pushing very, very hard to try and keep up, to try and overtake Pierre Gasly. All right. Franco Colapinto has caught up to the back of the pack. We'll wait and see if he can get ahead of Valtteri Bottas, but both drivers on hard tyres. It'll be a little bit of a difficult overtake. Yeah, here we go then. So yeah, the first couple of laps of the race, we're on lap number 3 now. Totally uneventful. Well, not totally uneventful, but I'm saying no crashes whatsoever, which is a bit of a surprise. I would have expected at such a street circuit we would have had at least one crash, but yeah, no crashes. And Yeah, let me just fix the screen there. It's been slightly cut off. I'm just gonna fix that. Give me a sec. There we go. You can see the position changes from the start of the race, and clearly K-Mag had a pretty bad start down into 15th after starting in 12th. And you can also see Sainz and Gasly both lost one position because Leclerc just came steaming through on the inside. He set fastest lap of the race. He's gaining on George Russell as they now go towards turn number 5. And Russell's now just got to stare that Scarlet Ferrari in his mirrors and make sure that he does not get past his engineers just coming over the radio saying the gap is 0.8 of a second. He's got to keep that gap under control, and he's got to keep pushing and manage his tyres. Of course, he'll have the advantage. Being out at the front, he's not going to have any sort of dirty air. His tyres are a lot less likely to slide around compared to if he was in the sort of downwash or in the downwash of another car. But let's wait and see what George Russell can do. All right. Let's see. The tyre whisperer, yeah, George. Well, we'll see how his tyres hold up. The Merc hasn't been the best at holding on to its tyres, but here comes Charles Leclerc. In fact, going into turn 15, side by side, Russell on the inside, Leclerc on the outside. As they go through turn 15, Verstappen gets the overtake done on Gasly. Very nicely done there. It was a few laps coming, and here comes Charles Leclerc. They're going down the main straight, no DRS for them, but Russell all the way to the inside line, kicking up so much dust on his tyres, and they are going into turn number 1. Leclerc swoops around the outside. Can he get the move done? There's contact between the two drivers. Oh no, it was so close. Fantastic defensive driving by George Russell, I must say. Taking the inside line, putting his car exactly where it needs to be, not overshooting his braking point, and he just manages to hold on and stay ahead of Charles Leclerc. Fantastic job. However, round number 2 is coming as soon as possible. As soon as they exit turn number 12, DRS will be enabled again, and Leclerc will be right on George Russell's tail. That was one very good defensive maneuver, but however, there are still 46 laps left of this race, and he's got a lot more of them to do if he's going to hold on to the lead of this race. All right. Fernando Alonso has been told to box. He's coming into the pits. I don't know what's going on there. I think his soft tyres just wore out far too quickly. The soft tyres weren't a good race tyre. Oh, we've got a message here from Race Control. Oscar Piastri has been noted for a false start. That could be I think that's going to be a 5-second penalty there for Oscar Piastri. He's got a false start, which I think he must have jumped the start or something. Which basically, well, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward 5-second penalty. Ooh, apologies for all of the data just glitching there a little bit. So yeah, a 5-second penalty potentially could be coming Piastri's way. I will keep you updated on that situation. The DRS zones on the circuit, they're between, so on the exit turn number 13, the DRS zone starts all the way to turn number 15, and then you've got turn number 4 all the way to turn number 5. Those are the two DRS zones, and the main one here is the main one though is the one that goes towards turn number 15. That is fantastic because you've got a triple chicane here, then you can continue racing on down the main straight. So that's where Leclerc nearly overtook Russell, but Russell took the inside line. And now the Ferraris are squabbling amongst themselves. Sainz has got DRS on Leclerc. Leclerc's no longer got DRS on Russell. Russell has set a fastest lap. And Max Verstappen is now improving his lap times, and he's going to start catching up very soon. So the positions are Russell in first, Leclerc in second, Sainz third, Verstappen fourth, Gasly fifth, still holding on to fifth position very well. However, Norris is on his tail, and he'll be using DRS very shortly to try and overtake him. So we shall see what happens. Nico Hulkenberg's just come over the radio saying the tyres don't feel that good, and the engineers come back to say that we can definitely manage the tyres more between turn number 10 and 11. They're sliding around a lot more. So yeah, the rear tyres, if the tyres start overheating as well, they can have some issues. Even though track temperature is 18 degrees, if the drivers push too much, you can always get overheating tyres. So we shall see. The drivers lose 21 seconds in the pit lane. If they come into the pits under green flag conditions, they lose 13.5 seconds if they come into the pits under virtual safety car conditions or safety car conditions. So yeah, that's a situation for the drivers that come into the pits. However, the pit stops are probably going to come a little bit more later on. Of course, Alonso pitted early because his soft tires were just not up to scratch for race day. They can do 1 or 2 quali laps, but after that, it's pretty unlikely that they're going to do many race laps, as we saw from Alonso only doing 4 laps on his tires before he came into the pits. The drivers on the medium tyre should pit between lap number 14 and 20. So let's wait and see. If someone goes for the undercut, that could work out. You're going to have a lot of clean air. Well, it depends on the gap, actually. So let's have a look. If, let's say, if Max Verstappen now comes into the pits, then where's he going to come out? He's going to come out right at the back of the pack. He's going to come out 4 seconds behind Colapinto. And if he's 4 seconds behind Colapinto, that's 4 seconds of clean air that he will, that'll take advantage of to undercut someone. So maybe that's the way forward for Max Verstappen, because closing the gap up to Sainz 2 seconds, maybe he may be able to close that gap up. However, getting the overtake done on Sainz, who will also have DRS from his teammate Charles Leclerc, is going to be a next to impossible task, because the DRS is a huge advantage, and if you don't have the top speed advantage, you won't be able to get past another driver. So that might be what Red Bull do. They might try pull the undercut on the Ferraris and get the jump on them. Okay, I really have no idea why the data is lagging so much today. Folks, I'm just to diagnose this issue, what I'm going to have to do is refresh the data. Right, if it hangs one more time, I will refresh the data. However, if it does not hang, then I'm going to just keep it going for now. All right. Some credit to Zhou to outqualifying Perez, bro. It's hilarious. Yeah, Perez. Zhou has outqualified Perez, has now overtook. He's done the same amount of overtakes as Perez. Perez gets ahead of Kevin Magnussen, finally going into turn number 15. And Piastri is defending against Lewis Hamilton very well. In fact, Piastri has no DRS from ahead of him. He's dropped off the back of Tsunoda, which is a little bit surprising there, considering the McLarens do theoretically have the best race pace. But yeah, Piastri is defending against Hamilton. Hamilton looks to the inside at turn number 5. He's a little bit too far back to get that overtake done, but Hamilton pushing Piastri all the way. Piastri is really doing qualifying laps here. He's getting so close to the barriers, going all over the curbs, and Hamilton's pushing Piastri all the way to his limits. We'll wait and see if he can get the overtake done, but it looks like the Mercedes have the raw pace out at the front. George Russell with the fastest lap of the race. Of course, some of that is down to clean air, but the Mercedes looks quick. In the hands of Russell, we'll see if Hamilton can make it look quick in and get an overtake done on Piastri. Right, Charles Leclerc is, oh my god, look at that gap. Verstappen's closed right up to Charles Leclerc, and he looks to the inside. Verstappen darts to the inside of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc lost the position to Sainz, which I wasn't paying attention to. Apologies for that. But now Leclerc's also lost the position to Max Verstappen. Has Leclerc got some sort of issue? I don't know what's going on there, but he's lost the position to Sainz, and he's also lost the position to Verstappen. Right. Interesting. Right. I'll keep an update on that. And Pierre Gasly just gets overtaken here by Lando Norris. He's fighting this one really hard, though. He knows that the McLaren hasn't got that much pace, and he could hold on. So now he's pushing all the way to the limit, finding all of the grip on every part of the circuit he can. Norris is off racing line. He's got a bit of dirt on his tyres, but Pierre Gasly now with the DRS looking to get an overtake done into turn number 5, a little bit too far back, and in fact the Mercs behind him. Hamilton gets ahead of Piastri. Tsunoda's defending against Hamilton now. It's all kicked off now in the previous couple of laps. They've come over the radio to Piastri saying plan B or plan C. So something's not gone well for them, and Piastri's lost the position to Hamilton here. Right. Yeah, I mean, apologies for missing these overtakes. However, on the TV feed, they haven't shown Leclerc overtaking Sainz, or Sainz overtaking Leclerc. They haven't shown Hamilton overtaking Piastri. I don't know what they're doing in Las Vegas, and if the TV commentators the TV directors need some more sleep. But yeah, they should really be broadcasting some of these overtakes. Okay, yeah, got to remember that Drake wagered on, I think Drake bet like 300k or something that Leclerc would win the race. I mean, it doesn't matter to Drake. 300k is like pennies to him, but yeah, maybe the Drake curse is back, and Charles Leclerc's not gonna win this race. Maybe even end up DNFing. All right. Yeah, Leclerc's dropped 4 seconds off the back of Verstappen. I don't know what's going on there because Leclerc looked to be. Oh no, Leclerc's gone into the pits. Leclerc and Norris both into the pits. Okay. Here we go then. I think Leclerc's tyres dropped off. That's most likely what happened. He was trying to chase down George Russell for quite a while and attacked probably quite a bit. So he started into the pits now. He comes out of the pits and he's going to have a nice bit of clean air. He still stays out ahead of Norris, so good job from the Ferrari pit crew. Both drivers with a 2.5 second pit stop. And yeah, Charles Leclerc out in 16th position. He's got 5 seconds of clean air ahead of him, so he's going to try and undercut Max Verstappen. The Red Bull engineers are going to be focusing on Charles Leclerc's lap times here. What's it going to be? How quick is he going to be through all of these sectors? Piastri has been given a 5-second penalty, folks. He's been given a 5-second penalty for a false start. So when he comes into the pits, he will have to he'll have to wait for 5 seconds, and then the team can change his tyres. It wasn't a false start. He didn't jump the start. However, he was in the incorrect position. I think he started a little bit too far forward from his rectangle, and because of that, he's got that 5-second penalty. Verstappen gets ahead of Sainz. Wow, what a move from Verstappen. Sainz goes defensive, but the overspeed that Verstappen gets from the DRS is simply sensational. Through he goes into turn number 15. Sainz is going to try and battle this one, but Sainz actually is not going to battle this one. Sainz goes into the pits on this lap, and Max Verstappen continues on. All right. Right, it's lagged again. Right, I'm just going to have to refresh the data, folks. The screen is going to go black for around about 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then all the data will come back. So, yeah, let me just press the refresh button. There we go. Okay. Hopefully, the screen's gone black. It'll come back in 30 seconds. But I'll continue on with the race commentary. Sainz a 2.3 second pit stop. Piastri serves his 5-second penalty. Gasly with a 3.3 second pit stop. Tsunoda with a 2.3 second pit stop. 4 drivers into the pits on this occasion, and they all come out of the pits still in the same order, apart from Piastri, who's lost a place because of his penalty. Yeah, folks, the data's back in 10 seconds. It needs a bit of time to sync up. So it will just pop up onto the screen in 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right. Nicely done. So everyone that's come into the pits has come out on a set of hard tyres. It's still showing question marks for some drivers because they've just come out of the pits. However, yes, everyone that's come out of the pits is on the hard tyres. That is the strategy for this race. We may see some 2-stops happening. For the drivers are pitting on lap number 10. Pirelli predicted that they would pit on lap number 14 or lap number 20. So now they've pitted on lap number 10. We're seeing a little bit more tyre wear than expected. So we could see a 2-stop, especially if the safety car comes out. But yeah, George Russell's still out there in the lead of this race, and we'll just have to keep an eye out on these lap times here. Who is improving and who's going quicker overall? So let's have a look here. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, both of them are on fresh sets of hard tyres. However, those hard tyres are not up to temperature. They're not going to be hot enough, and they're going to need 1 or 2 laps at least to build that temperature up before they can really attack. Norris already on the tail of Leclerc, and he's making his life very, very difficult. Verstappen comes into the pits. We've got Ocon into the pits, Zhou into the pits, Lawson into the pits. Norris with the fastest lap of the race here, on a fresh set of hard tyres. So Norris has managed to get the tyres switched on. However, Ferrari, not so much. And yeah, very, very interesting here. Okay, let me refresh the radio data as well. I think that might be contributing to the lag. Okay, the radio messages will continue coming through. I've just set them to refresh as well. Okay, how much you lose in the pit stops? You lose 21 seconds in the pit stops. Yeah, And let's see, Verstappen, though, still comes out ahead of both Ferraris. And nicely done. He's a 10th behind Valtteri Bottas, who gets and he gets that overtake done very cleanly on the Finnish driver. And Verstappen is in 6th position after coming into the pits. Perez is in 4th position after still not pitting. And we've got the Mercs in 1-2. The gap between the two Mercs is 15 seconds, which is enormous. However, yeah, what can I say? George Russell started in 1st position. Hamilton started in 15th. So, I still don't know why the data's lagging here. Is that Russell into the pits? Russell is into the pits there. Right, let me just refresh the radio messages. All right, we'll hopefully get some more radio messages coming through. There we go. All right, they're already coming through now. Lando Norris still holds the fastest lap of the race. He set that on the previous lap, and now everyone's making their way through traffic. Sainz has overtaken Colapinto. Leclerc's got to get an overtake done on Colapinto ASAP as they go through turn number 1, 2, and 3. Leclerc gets the overtake done. Norris now stuck behind Colapinto. They've got a little bit of time to build a gap, but Norris is looking very, very racy, and the lap times that he's pulling off are, well, a significant chunk quicker than the other drivers, in fact. So he's about a second quicker than Sainz, but Sainz, of course, still making his way through traffic. He's now got ahead of Bottas as they go through turn number 5. And now Norris is overtaking Colapinto. Leclerc's now overtaking Bottas. Everyone's slowly but surely making their way through the traffic. And George Russell still maintaining that lead out of the front. Hamilton might be going for a one-stop strategy here. We know Hamilton is very good at managing his tyres, and if he just continues on managing his tyres, he may be able to pull off a one-stop strategy, which will save him 20 seconds in the pit lane. Absolutely enormous bit of time that he's going to save if he does a one-stop. So we shall wait and see if he can pull that one off. But everyone else may be going for a two-stop strategy, just looking at the way the tyres are wearing out. It seems like a two-stop may be the way forward. We'll see if Verstappen's coming into if Hamilton's coming into pits. In fact, he is. Hamilton's just pulled into the pit lane now, and it's a 2.7 second stop for Lewis Hamilton. In fact, the data is lagging so much. I'm just going to try and reduce the delay ever so slightly. Right, let me do that. Okay, that might fix it. But right, Hamilton's finally into the pit, so he's not doing a one-stop, or he might do a one-stop, but still he'll have to manage his tyres for 37 laps, which is quite long around here. We've got a 6-kilometre long lap, so one of the longer laps of the calendar. And it's going to be difficult to manage that one. Piastri, though, fastest first sector, and he's behind Alonso. Piastri, his first stint was really terrible, if I'm going to be honest. He lost the position to, I think it was Hülkenberg, and then lost the position to Hamilton, and then was pretty close to losing another position before he came into the pits. So, yeah, Piastri's got a lot of ground to make up, and you can just see the difference. Norris is up in 7th, Piastri's down in 15th, and both drivers started, 2 positions apart. But of course, Piastri did have his 5-second penalty as well that he served in the pit lane because he he started in the incorrect grid position. Well, no, he started in the correct grid position. However, there's a rectangle that you're meant to be in. Piastri wasn't properly aligned up with the rectangle, and because of that, he got a 5-second penalty. Any predictions for how the World Drivers' Championship could look? Well, if it continues like this, Max Verstappen wins the championship. Fair and square, nothing that Norris can do about it. Verstappen is 4 places ahead of Norris. That's the championship sealed if it finishes this way. All right. 19,000 people tuning into live stream, nearly 20,000 people. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It very much is appreciated. Hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. Alright, Nico Hülkenberg comes into the pits as well. He dropped all the way down into... Does he drop all the way down into 20th position? No, he drops down into... Where's he dropped down to now? He'll be coming out of the pits probably in 16th, 17th position there. He's on a set of hard tyres as well. So the drivers yet to pit now are Perez is yet to pit. He started the race on the hards, fair enough. Bottas as well, he started the race on the hards. So he's not going to pit for a while. K-Mag is still hanging out there on the medium tyres that he's done 14 laps on. Maybe K-Mag could go to lap number 20 and do a one-stop. We shall wait and see. A Red Bull double podium? Well, Perez is still yet to pit, so I don't think that's going to be happening. If there's a safety car or something, that'll help Perez out. However, if there's a safety car now, it will be at the wrong time, really, because Perez ideally wants one lap number 40, lap number 35, around about then. That's when Perez will need a safety car. Verstappen now catching up to the back of Perez, and I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward overtake. I don't think they even need to come over the radio to Perez to say let him by. Perez is just going to do it. Okay, very nice. And Verstappen get there ahead of Perez into turn number 15. Loses no time whatsoever, and we have got the two Ferraris now in a net third and fourth position. They're currently in fourth and fifth, but Verstappen has leapfrogged both of them. The two Ferraris were squabbling amongst themselves, and then Sainz got ahead of Leclerc, and Leclerc lost pace to Verstappen. Through the pit stops, Verstappen overtook Sainz, and up into second place he's gone, starting the race from 5th place. Okay, how long did the hards last? The hards last 35 laps to, well, they last, 35 laps to 30 to 35 laps. That's what Pirelli said. However, maybe, you could stretch them out a couple more laps. So if you pit now, you'll be able to make the hards last. However, you could pit in like 3 or 4 laps time and really be certain that the hard tyres will last. Hamilton, though, fastest lap of the race there, a 13.7, very similar to what Lando Norris did as soon as he came out of the pits. He's pushing pretty hard there. Apologies, folks. The data's lagging and the data's also incorrect. Norris's tire laps haven't updated. It says he's just come out of the pits there. It says 0 laps done on those hard tires. So I think it's an issue with the data coming from Las Vegas, because everything else is working as standard. Hamilton, in fact, gets DRS now, going towards turn number 14. He has DRS, looks the inside of Lando Norris, sends one down the inside, and says thank you very much to Lando Norris. Hamilton up into 6th position by the looks of it. Does he get the overtake done? Yes, he does. And then Tsunoda up into 8th. Very, very nice overtake there from Tsunoda. He gets K-Mag. And brilliant. Colapinto as well gets ahead of Bottas. Loads of overtaking going on down at turn number 12. Oh, is that Colapinto swooping around the outside? It doesn't matter, because the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc is about to overtake Sergio Perez here. Did I say Carlos Leclerc? The Ferrari of Charles Leclerc is about to send one down the inside of turn number 6. What a move from Charles Leclerc. And we've got Lewis Hamilton now all over the back of Sergio Perez. And wow, this is getting very, very exciting. Perez losing places left, right and centre every single corner. He's on those old hard tyres. Everyone else is on the fresh ones. And everyone else is just driving all over him. Oh, folks, we have got a DNF there for Pierre Gasly. Very, very unfortunate. But if we could not have spam in the chat, that would be fantastic. Okay. Also, folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. We've got 20,000 people watching. Very much is appreciated. If we could hit 5,000 likes, that would be fantastic. Alright, and just look at that gap up at the front. George Russell with a 10-second gap. And if we look at the previous lap times, he's not getting any slower. In fact, he was around about 0.7 of a second quicker than Max Verstappen on the previous lap. If we just compare, Verstappen's now just come across the line. It's a 138.0 again. So a 1.5 tenth gap between Verstappen and Russell in terms of lap time. And Verstappen's the slower driver. Perez comes into the pits, a 2.4 second pit stop for Perez. Why has he come into the pits? Perez is on the hard tyres. He was meant to do 30 laps on the hards. However, it looks like they're just not lasting as long as they would like. And he's done half the distance. Instead of 35 laps, he's done 17. What is going on with the data today? Apologies, folks. It's normally never like this, but I think there's some issues transferring the data from Las Vegas to us, because still, as you can see on Lando Norris's tire counter, he's done 0 lap on the hard tires, but he pitted around 6-7 laps ago now. The same thing for Leclerc. It says 0 laps for Leclerc. Sainz, it says 1 lap. It's all wrong. Because, well, the drivers pitted around about lap number 12. So yeah, apologies for that, but the data is coming through and it's just coming through wrong, so can't do much about it. Yeah, the data sender is gone to sleep. It's just I could blame it on Americans, but no, I'm just gonna blame it on the fact that the Las Vegas races run at midnight. So whoever's fixing meant to fix the data, probably hasn't got enough sleep, and that's why the data's still broken. Let's blame it on that. But Hamilton, though, still on the back of Charles Leclerc. He goes now into turn number 4. Into turn number 5, and Hamilton is 7/10 of a second behind Leclerc, but he could really get a move done now. It's looking pretty good for him. He seems like he's got a little bit more grip than Leclerc as they drive through the middle sector, and as they'll be making their way down to turn number 12, we could see Hamilton get the overtake done there. The Mercedes is looking very, very quick. It's so unpredictable as well. Honestly, this season has been fantastic. Some weekends, you go into the weekend thinking, oh, it's going to be McLaren's weekend. They're going to be so quick. But then sometimes you get a surprise out of nowhere. And Mercedes, for the past couple of weekends, they've not been race-winning performances. Maybe they've been getting onto the podium. However, race winning is not where Mercedes have been. And here they come to Las Vegas, and Russell is setting quicker lap times than Max Verstappen. He's 10 seconds out in the lead, which is ridiculous to say the least. And, maybe next weekend in Qatar that it looks like Ferrari are the fastest. And then the weekend after in Abu Dhabi, we see Lando Norris and McLaren be the fastest. Like, who has any idea of what's going to happen? Totally unpredictable. And I've got to say, in 2025, next year's season is going to be brilliant. I cannot wait. We're going to have 5 rookies in the season. We're going to have 4 teams so close to each other, and we're going to have a fantastic championship battle from lap number 1 of race number 1. For us, the championship battle this season started around the 8th race of the season. Verstappen, I think, won the first 7 races in a row, and it looked like it was going to be a replica of 2023. But, the Red Bull performance gave way, and we got a fantastic battle on our hands. Of course, it wasn't as close as we would have liked, but I think next season we'll be starting from lap number 1 of race 1, and we're going to see so much action. It's going to be mind-blowing. Yeah. Anyway, back to today's race. We have got Hamilton. He's gained a little bit on Leclerc. He's half a second back, and now they're going into the braking zone of turn number 12. So let's see what he can do. Both drivers get a fairly good exit, but Hamilton will have the DRS as they make their way through the kink in the road, and well, here he comes. Lewis Hamilton is going to activate all of the overtake mode that he can on that Mercedes, but it looks like Ferrari's got a slightly smaller rear wing, and the top speed might be just enough, and might be just what Charles Leclerc needs to hold on to that position. Oh, Max didn't win the first 7. Yeah, he was in. He got a DNF in the 3rd race, and Carlos won it. Yeah, I've apologies for that. I remember. I was quite happy actually when Verstappen's rear brake duct exploded, which I probably shouldn't have been. But given the 2023 season, I think it was fair enough to be happy that Verstappen's DNF'd. Exploded right in front of you. Fair enough. I guess that's definitely why you remember. All right, Max managing his tyres, maintaining the gap while keeping Sainz at a DRS. Yeah, that is exactly what he's doing. Verstappen knows that there's no need for him to chase down Russell. He's going to win the championship regardless this weekend. So he was doing the same last weekend. In fact, he was in 2nd place and letting Ocon run away with the race until the safety car came around and then got the overtake done quite easily. So, yeah, Verstappen just playing the long game here. He knows that there's still 30 laps after this race. There could be a safety car, there could be virtual safety cars, there could be a red flag for all he knows. Just keeping his head on, really. Okay, May Russell's car be an optimum weight today? Yeah, I'm sure. The Mercedes team will keep that under control. I think Russell would have not been underweight if Mercedes had remembered to take into account that at Spa, because the circuit is so long. What they do is, as soon as the race finishes, the drivers go immediately into the pit lane. They don't have time to do an extra cool down lap and pick up a bunch of rubber, because over the course of 7 kilometers, I think it is at Spa, 7.1 kilometers. Russell would have driven around, picked up all of the dirty, like the leftover pieces of rubber, and picked up 1.5 kg, and then would have been totally fine for not getting disqualified. But the way that the Spa race works is, as soon as the race finishes, you cool down immediately, and then you drive back into the pit lane in the reverse direction. And I think Mercedes forgot about that, or they just didn't take that into account when they were doing their race strategy and thinking about how much the tyres will wear out. And if the cool down lap was the entire lap at Spa rather than just the first main straight, then Russell could have kept that win. But anyway, what has been done, and I'm sure Mercedes will learn from their mistakes and make sure to add a little bit of extra fuel into the car once they are at Spa, to make sure they don't go over the weight limit. And we're currently on lap number 22 of 50 here at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're approaching halfway through the race, and all the drivers in the top three, their lap times are still improving. We've got George Russell with a 1:37.3, Max Verstappen with a 1:37.5, and the same can be said for Carlos Sainz. Russell's still the quickest driver out of all three of them. What happened to Norris's tyre data? It's just not updating. Like, it says that Norris has done 0 laps on his hard tyres, when I'm pretty sure he pit the same laps as Verstappen, which means that they both have done 10 laps, but for some reason it says Norris has done 0. Actually, I'm going to blame the FIA, because I just like blaming the FIA for everything. It's quite fun, actually. You guys should try it. So I'm going to blame the FIA for the lack of data. Yeah, Hamilton, though, he's now on the back of Charles Leclerc. He set a fastest lap of the race with the assistance of some DRS, and he'll be chasing down Charles Leclerc. He's been on his tail for a little bit, but still unable to get within the 3-4 tenths at the end of a straight. Not at the end of the straight, at the start of the straight. If he can be within 3 or 4 tenths at the exit of turn number 12, that should be sufficient to get a move done into turn number 14. However, Hamilton has yet to be that close, because going through the middle sector of turn number 6, 7, 8, 9 is very, very tricky to keep that gap, because it is a very high grip part of the circuit. You need all the downforce you can get, and the dirty air just doesn't give it to you. Lando Norris has a pace issue. Yeah, I mean, Lando Norris and both Piastri, both drivers not performing as quick as you would want them to be. At one point, they were the fastest car on the grid. However, I think this weekend it looks like Mercedes are comfortably the faster car. And they must have made a mistake in the setup or something along those lines. They can't get the tyres switched on. I mean, Norris did on the opening lap of his second stint, he set a fastest lap of the race and he got his tyres switched on immediately. However, since then it's just been downhill for the McLarens. Maybe there'll be something over the radio saying what's gone wrong there, but not sure. Alonso's been told over the radio that he can use his battery to defend against Zhou. Here they are, in fact, going down towards turn number 14. Zhou is tucked into the slipstream of Fernando Alonso. He opens that DRS flap as they head towards turn number 14. Alonso's looking in his mirrors. He looks to the inside, and Zhou, in fact, sends one down the inside. Fernando Alonso, even with using all of his battery, not enough to defend against Guan Yu Zhou. And Zhou's up into 11th. Alonso down into 12th. And, we could see a re-overtake happen here. Fernando Alonso got a very, very good exit out of turn number 16. Going into turn number 1, can Alonso send one down the inside of Guan Yu Zhou? Oh, he's a little bit too far back. And Zhou holds on to 11th place. Very nice overtake done there from Guan Yu Zhou. Unfortunately, he's out of a race seat for next year. He's looking for some reserve driver seats or something. Maybe he could continue on at Audi/Sauber, but stay as a reserve driver rather than a main driver. But yeah, it's going to be tricky for him. I think Bottas is in talks now to be a reserve driver at Mercedes. Given that Kimi Antonelli, the rookie next year, if there's any sort of issues, if he suddenly just cannot perform under all of the pressure of Formula One, they've got a fantastic replacement of Valtteri Bottas to put him into the car. But yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Guan Yu Zhou. Okay. Hamilton once again gaining on Charles Leclerc. He once again looks to the inside. Can he get the move done on this occasion? No, he cannot. Leclerc's done a fantastic job of managing this gap, even though Hamilton has got DRS and he's setting fastest first sectors and everything. Leclerc just knows exactly which parts of circuits he needs to push on to make sure the gap is big enough on the straights. As he goes through turn number 6, 7, and 8, Leclerc pushes a lot harder than he normally does for the rest of the lap. Hamilton, the gap extends out to Hamilton. Hamilton's too far away come the main straight or come the back straight, and Leclerc has done a successful job at defending once again. So yeah, here we are at the halfway point of this race, lap number 25 of 50, and we've got Fernando Alonso diving into the pits for the second time now. Those hard tyres, which were meant to last 30 to 35 laps, even at the hands of Fernando Alonso, have only lasted 20 laps. So yeah, not ideal there for Fernando Alonso, and not ideal for all of the other drivers. It looks like it will be a two-stop race. If Alonso can only manage the tyres to do 20 laps, then I suspect all of the other drivers will only manage to do 20 laps on their hards as well, and we are going to see a two-stop race. And the other thing that the drivers will have to take into account now is if they come into the pits, are they going to come out in traffic? Are they not going to come out in traffic? And who can pull off an undercut, because let's say now Hamilton has been stuck behind Leclerc for quite a while. If he comes into the pits now, he will come out just he'll basically come out with Piastri and Hülkenberg. So if he can just extend that gap ever so slightly, come out ahead of Piastri, Hülkenberg and Tsunoda, he'll have about 5 seconds of clean air ahead of him to try and undercut the Ferraris. So that might be what Mercedes are looking at now. If they can just build that gap out so much so that when Hamilton comes into the pits, he comes out ahead of Tsunoda, he'll have clean air, and then he can undercut both Ferraris. That would be optimal. But we'll see what happens. Who do you think the World Constructors' Championship goes to? This is interesting, actually. Oh, it's one of the McLarens into the pits. That's Piastri into the pits there. He's coming in for his second stop quite early on in the race. We've got Albon coming in for his stop as well. The World Constructors' Championship, well, if you have a look at the current positions, it doesn't look like McLaren are gaining any sort of positions. Ferrari are looking quite comfortable there in third and fourth. So we could say that, I don't know, actually. I'd have to check what happens, what the current positions are saying and how much it would affect it. Because if we look at the constructors' standings now, McLaren on 593 points and Ferrari on 557. So that's a gap of 36 points, I think. So Ferrari are looking good here to close that gap up and potentially win the Constructors' Championship. That would be very, very good for Ferrari. And Sainz has just come over the race saying, let's get off these tyres. Sainz is not particularly happy. He's only done 15 laps on those hards. And if he comes into the pits now, he's going to have to do 25 laps on his next stint. So I suspect it's a little bit too early to come in for a new set of hards. I think just like Alonso did, you have to stretch it out to lap number 20 on that stint and then come into the pits. So yeah, here we go. The data's updated finally for Lando Norris. He's done 16 laps on his hards, as expected, not 0. So yeah, the data's actually seem to be working a little bit better, a little bit less lag as well. Leclerc not happy over the radio there. I'm killing my fault on these. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about, but not happy whatsoever. And Hamilton still on the back of Leclerc. Hamilton even with the fastest lap of the race there, and he's still trying to catch up to Charles Leclerc. Very nice. Max doesn't like his hards. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. No. Albon is into the pits. Albon's also retiring from this race, is he? Or is he Let's just have a double check. Colapinto's into the pits as well. I don't think Colapinto's retiring. Yeah, Colapinto comes out. However, Albon is retiring from this race. Very, very unfortunate there for Alex Albon. He's going to be out of the Grand Prix. So both two DNFs, Gasly and Albon. Right. Okay, Charles Leclerc, oh my god, he's trying to overtake his own teammate here, with Lewis Hamilton right on his tail. Leclerc gets ahead of Sainz, and Hamilton doesn't get past both Ferraris. The Ferrari's doing a great job just creating a little barrier there that Hamilton can't get past. Leclerc gets the overtake done on Sainz, and now Sainz is a bit of a sitting duck, for Lewis Hamilton as they go into turn number one. Hamilton, in fact, darts into the pits. Hamilton darts into the pit lane, and he's going to try and undercut the Ferraris here. Quick pit stop there for Max Verstappen. 3.4 second pit stop for Max Verstappen. A 2.6 second pit stop for Lewis Hamilton, and now the Ferraris are going to go maximum attack, because if they don't, then Hamilton will undercut them. And just as predicted, Hamilton comes out just ahead of Tsunoda, so very nice prediction from me. I'm very very happy that I got that one right. He just comes out ahead of Tsunoda, and if that pit stop was even 1 second slower, that would have been the race over for Lewis Hamilton. And now the focus goes to the Ferraris. What are their lap times doing? Both drivers don't improve in the first sector. We'll see what they can do in the middle sector. But they've really got to get a move on now. Otherwise, the undercut is very, very imminent from Lewis Hamilton. We saw that the Mercedes could get their tyres switched on very, very quickly as soon as they came out of the pits. So that might be a bit of an issue. Apologies. I think some of you guys may have just got adverts there. I have to press the block advert button every 10 minutes. I forgot to press it. I've just pressed it again, but apologies if some of you have just got ads pop up on your screen. All right. Yeah, these lap times aren't improving from the Ferrari drivers. Leclerc has built a fairly significant gap to Sainz, considering he overtook him on the previous lap. But yeah, Sainz already into the pits. Okay, Sainz coming into the pits there. Will he come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton? Let's have a look at Hamilton's lap times. Hamilton's green in the first sector, green in the middle sector, and it looks like that Hamilton might get ahead of Carlos Sainz here. They're emerging from the pit lane, and Sainz is Sainz, the Ferrari pit crew weren't even ready for him. They were a little slow with the pit stop. Actually, no, they weren't. They were 2.2 seconds on the pit stop, but it just wasn't enough. They didn't predict the undercut properly. Hamilton gets ahead of Carlos Sainz. Nicely done from the Mercedes team, and Carlos Sainz has lost the position. Oh, once again, a Ferrari masterclass of a Ferrari masterclass in messing up the strategy, and Leclerc also is not improving. Hamilton has got a fastest first sector, so it looks like the overtake on Leclerc will also get done by Hamilton just through the pit stops. Sainz, in fact, got 2 laps deleted for exceeding track limits. He exceeded track limits at turn number 17, was pushing a little bit too hard, and wow. Ferrari, just your average Ferrari strategy. They were doing so well for this season, and they hadn't messed up too many strategies. However, this one was clearly obvious. I mean, I called it out, saying Hamilton's going to try and undercut you, and I said that about 4 laps before Hamilton came into the pits. But still, Ferrari somehow didn't think that Hamilton was going to try and undercut them. Leclerc's still staying out, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they're going to try the overcut on Hamilton. However, if Hamilton gets the overtake done on Verstappen, which it looks like he might, because the Mercedes seems to be quicker than the Red Bull, and look at that fastest lap, 136.9. He goes a half a second quicker than Verstappen on the previous lap. It's going to be very difficult to overcut Lewis Hamilton there. His tyres may wear out towards the end of the race, and I guess that's what Leclerc's hoping for. He's going to extend out his second stint and maybe do 23, 24 laps, and then make sure he has tyres towards the end of the race. But it's going to be a difficult task at hand to overcut Lewis Hamilton. F1 Gamer should be the Ferrari strategist. Yeah, I should call them up. All right. Let's see. Zhou's into ninth position. Oh my god. Right. We could see some points here for Sauber. Finally, let's just have a double check. Has everyone come into the pits who could be competing for position? If Zhou pits now, he's going to come out in. Oh no! If Zhou pits now, he'll come out right next to Valtteri Bottas, I think. Yeah, so if Zhou wants to score some points, he's going to have to do a one-stop strategy, which is going to be extremely difficult because he's got a 2-second gap behind Ocon. He could lose the position to Ocon, still score points, but however, half a second behind Ocon is Lawson, and half a second behind Lawson is Piastri. So it's a very uphill battle there for Guan Yu Zhou if he's going to try and score points. It would be surprising that Zhou scores points before Bottas, but nonetheless, I don't think either of them are going to score points because if Zhou comes into the pits now, he's coming out right next to Bottas. Norris does dive into the pit lane after doing 21 laps on his hard tyres, and he's dropped down into 6th, maybe 7th, and he will come out just ahead of Perez, I think. Or it's going to be pretty tight. Norris comes out just ahead of Perez. All right, 7th place for Lando Norris after his final pit stop. He is significantly better than his teammate, but of course Piastri did have a 5-second penalty in his first pit stop. Only 21 on hards. F1 Gamer, does this track have high tyre wear? Yes, it does. I was expecting tyre wear to be lower. I think Pirelli were as well. Pirelli said you could do at most 35 laps, but nobody's got done more than 21 laps on their set of hard tyres. So I think what's just going on is, well, Pirelli did bring the softest tyres of their range. They brought the C5, the C4, the C3, so the softest tyres that they have to offer, and that's probably why the hard tyres are wearing out so quickly. Maybe they should have gone one step harder, but in that situation, the soft tyres wouldn't have worked that well for quali. So, yeah, we will... It's alright. Hamilton, however, he gets the overtake done on Verstappen. Wow, Verstappen doesn't even fight it that much. He knows that Hamilton's coming by. He steams by on the inside line. And Hamilton gets the overtake done way before turn number 14. And Hamilton, with another fastest lap of the race, continues onwards and gets ahead of Max Verstappen. Leclerc finally comes into the pits for his second pit stop. With a tyre difference of 5 laps, that is not going to be enough to overcut Lewis Hamilton, he might be able to overtake Max Verstappen. However, I think catching up to Hamilton, who's setting fastest lap after fastest lap, is going to be extremely difficult. And also, I would like to say here, guys, look at this gap. Look at this gap. George Russell, 32 seconds ahead of his teammate. Wow. Simply lovely from George Russell. Sainz is ahead of Charles Leclerc. And yeah, and they've just gone over the radio here to Max Verstappen, say, Max, don't lose focus of what our aim is today. I think that aim is just to win the championship. And I think that radio message came through. They said that radio message just before Lewis Hamilton was trying to overtake. So I think they just told Max, don't fight this one too much. Don't DNF. We don't need anything like this. Just focus on your own race, get a podium, and win the championship. Oh yeah, the gap was 31 seconds. I totally forgot about the fact that Russell hadn't pitted yet. So Russell's now come into the pits, and the gap will drop from 32 seconds to now 10 seconds. But still, a 10-second gap for George Russell is fantastic. He's going to be on fresh, hard tyres. He's going to be setting fast lap of the race just like Lewis Hamilton. And we could have a Mercedes 1-2. What is going on? I have no idea. But... coming into this weekend, I thought maybe Ferraris would be the quickest team. If it wasn't the Ferraris, it would be the McLarens. But McLarens are down in 7th and 9th position. The Ferraris are in 4th and 5th. And Mercedes are in 1 and 2. I'm not going to complain. It's fantastic that we have so much unpredictability, but I'm very, very surprised. Perez comes in for his second pit stop now, currently in 8th position. However, once he comes out of the pit lane, that's going to drop all the way down into, oh my God, 15th position for Sergio Perez. What is happening here? Yeah, he's going to drop down 14th, 15th position for Sergio Perez as he comes out of the pits. We've got 18 laps remaining of this Grand Prix, and Perez is 5 places out of the points. All right, Joe has now got he's got DRS off Piastri. In fact, Piastri overtook him a couple of laps ago, but yeah, he's going to try and hold on to now that ninth and 10th place. Ocon will be, fast approaching, and so will Lawson. But I think Zhou, is he going to try and stay out towards the end? I don't know. I mean, that's the only way that they could score points. If he comes into the pits now, he's going to come out in dead last or in second to last place. So the only way Sauber could potentially score points is just staying out all the way to the end of the race. It's going to be utterly difficult to manage those tyres. The car will be slipping and sliding everywhere, but you have to take that risk because scoring 0 points in a Formula One season is slightly embarrassing. Yeah. All right. There was an incident between Lawson and Ocon causing a collision. They've done no further investigation. So no penalties will be handed out there. Nico Hulkenberg comes into the pits after doing 19 laps on his hard tires, and where is he going to come out? I think around about 12th, 13th position. That's going to promote Zhou up into 8th place. Okay, so he's got a little bit more leeway to play with, and potentially scoring some points here. But we're all rooting for Zhou. I mean, you can't not root for the guy. Been in Formula One for 2 seasons. Performed all right, sometimes getting, significantly out-qualified by Bottas, sometimes getting close to out-qualifying Bottas. But it would be fantastic if he can score some points while he's on his way out of Formula One. Who is your driver of the day, folks? Let me know who your driver of the day is. And also, if you haven't hit the like button, please be sure to do so. It hugely helps out the channel. Oh, that's my alarm going off. Let me just switch that off. Right, there we go. That's my alarm switched off. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been it's fantastic to commentate to you guys. And yeah, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. And apologies for all the technical issues earlier on in the stream. I think the data has now fixed itself, so we're not having too many issues. But yeah, all right, fantastic. Back to the race though. What have we got going on then? Russell 10 seconds out in the lead of the race with 5 lap fresher tyres. I think he's gonna keep on driving that way. We could maybe have a safety car if there's any sort of crash or anything like that. Yeah, let's see who your driver of the day is. Lewis Hamilton, Zhou. Yeah, Hamilton obviously started the race in 10th place and now is up into 2nd, so a fantastic drive from him. I think Guan Yu Zhou as well. Oh no, they're pulling him into the pits. What are you doing, Sauber? What are you doing? You could have had the chance to potentially score some points, but now you've just thrown them all away. And he's going to come out in 16th position or 17th position, and that's, what are you doing? Right, well, the current drivers in the point scoring in 8th, 9th, and 10th are Ocon, Sonoda, and Lawson. Gasly as well. Gasly having a fantastic race. He ended up DNFing on lap number 15. Very, very unfortunate for him. Yeah. Ugh. All right. Look at that. Lewis Hamilton, fastest first sector, fastest second sector. Is he trying to catch up to George Russell? They've just come over the radio saying, so Lewis pushing hard, 36.4. George Russell is now maybe coming under pressure from his teammate. There's no championship on the line. George Russell will be the number 1 driver because he's staying at Mercedes. Hamilton isn't. Mercedes have comfortably got their 3rd place in the the 4th place in the championship. They're not going to catch up to Red Bull anytime soon. They're on 382 points, and Red Bull are on 544. So that's more than a 100 point gap, which they're not going to close in 3 races. So this is purely now just down to the drivers. Do they want to battle? Do they not? What do the team want to do about this scenario? Yeah. All right. If we have a look at the constructors' standings, what's going to happen here is that Ferrari are going to score 22 points overall. McLaren are going to score 14 points overall, so that will close the gap by 7 points if it stays just like this, which is not going to be. It's going to close the gap by 8 points, so it'll close it up a little bit. However, it's going to be very, very tight. The gap will. Yeah, it's not going to be that close. Ferrari will need at least a McLaren DNF or something for them to get close to winning the championship in the next two races. Because even with if it continues on like this, the gap between McLaren and Ferrari will be 27 points going into Qatar. Given it is a sprint weekend, you can score some more points here and there, but still highly unlikely that they end up with the World Constructors Championship without a DNF. So let's wait and see. Just tuned in. What happened to the Ferraris? The Ferraris, well, they qualified in around about the same position as they are now. But they qualified up in second and fourth. No, yeah, that's where the Ferraris were. But yeah, they just had a lack of pace, really. Their race pace wasn't on it. And somehow the Mercs have come out as the fastest team. Leclerc with the fastest lap of the race, though. He goes 3 milliseconds quicker than Hamilton's fastest lap. And Leclerc's now looking to catch up to his teammate. Hamilton looking to catch up to his teammate. And now we've just got inter-teammate rivalries. The gap between Norris and Piastri is 10 seconds. There's no point sort of switching them around. I mean, you could help Piastri out a little bit, switch them around. But Piastri's 10 seconds behind. So that's definitely not going to happen. F1 Gamer, what is this? Is that an Amitron watch? No, I've just got a Casio watch, like just one of the basic ones. That's what my alarm. I set my alarm for 7 o'clock normally. However, for today it was at 5 a.m. because got to wake up for the race. Yeah. All right. Okie dokes. Lewis on a 36.2. They are coming over the radio to Russell to say what lap times Lewis is doing, and Russell will keep this in his mind. Like, he'll know what lap times Lewis is doing, and then hence try to go, oh my god, it's happened again. Both drivers have set the identical fastest lap. Hamilton with a 136.177, and Charles Leclerc has done a 136.177. How has that happened again? This is at least, I think, the fourth time in this season that the drivers have set identical lap times. I mean, it goes to show you how close the competition is. The drivers setting identical fastest laps while they're racing. And yeah, it goes to show how close these cars are in terms of performance. Next season is just going to be even better than this. This is the fourth time this season we've had drivers during the race set identical fastest lap times. Wow. All right. They've come over to Lando to say there might be a small bit of debris on the outside of turn number 12. Oh, if there's a bit of debris, guys, it's time to call out the safety car. Like, you can't be driving around with debris. And, if we have a safety car, then that'll really spice things up. But I think we've just got a replay here. Sergio Perez versus... he was trying to overtake someone and a little bit of damage may have occurred. Oh, Perez sent one down the inside. Daniel Ricciardo style. Got a double overtake done. Very nicely done from Sergio Perez. Double overtake on Lawson and Magnussen, I think it was. Genuinely, Daniel Ricciardo style. He sent one to the inside and said thank you very much and put himself up into 12th position. And look at that fastest lap. All of the drivers at the front, they're trading fastest laps here. Hamilton and then Sainz and now Leclerc. All three of them, they're trying to set the fastest lap of the race. All of them are gaining. I mean, look at that gap. Verstappen is getting closed up by... he's getting catched up by Sainz and Leclerc. Is he going to make this one hard? Is he just going to let them by? 12 laps remaining in this race. Verstappen, if he starts attacking now, he may be able to hold on to third. If I was Verstappen personally, winning the championship would be fantastic. Winning the championship with a podium would be even better. But I'm sure Verstappen doesn't really mind that much because he's winning the championship regardless. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have a quick sip of water, folks. I shall be back in just a second. Right, Liam Lawson comes into the pits for his final pit stop. He comes out on a set of hard tyres. He drops down into 17th position. So yeah, he started about the same position. He started around about there. He started in 14th. He's down into 17th. And Tsunoda, his teammate, he started in 7th. He's down into 8th. Okay, we've got a fastest lap for Hamilton. Now let's wait and see what Sainz and Leclerc can do as they come across the line. I don't think they will set fastest laps because they are in the dirty era of Verstappen. Yeah, there we go. They're around about 3/10 off the pace compared to Hamilton. Hamilton now into 1:35.8. He really is attacking here, is Lewis Hamilton. And, he's going to try and catch up to his teammates. With 11 laps left to go, the gap is 7 seconds. And on that previous lap, Hamilton was half a second quicker than George Russell. So it's unlikely they'll catch up. However, if there's a mistake or anything like that, then who knows what could happen. Tsunoda gets the overtake done on... Tsunoda stays ahead of Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg tries to go down the inside of Tsunoda at turn number 14. Doesn't get that pulled off successfully. And Tsunoda just manages to hold on as they go through turn number 1, 2, and 3. All right. Could Lawson have gone on to the mediums? He could have. However, the problem is I don't think he had another set of medium tyres. He only had, I think he had 2 sets of hards and 1 set of mediums for the race, and he's used them accordingly. Because, of course, they are limited by the tyres that they get from Pirelli. If they don't have a set of mediums, then they obviously can't pit onto them. Yeah. With only 11 laps left of the race, Lawson easily could have went on to the mediums, but there's just no point. Okie dokes. Look at that gap up at the front. It's now down to 7 seconds. Not a fastest lap of the race there from Lewis Hamilton. He's a tenth slower than his previous fastest lap. Russell, however, is dealing with a little bit of traffic. He's just about to get ahead of Valtteri Bottas here. So that traffic is also going to be slowing down George Russell. And there we go. Bottas gives way, and Russell now gets ahead of Bottas going through into turn number 5. A fast lap of the race there from Charles Leclerc, and he's caught right up. I think he dropped back a little bit, and now they've caught right up. Both Sainz and Leclerc now have DRS on each other, and Sainz, in fact, has Leclerc's DRS on Verstappen. He's 0.3 of a second as they go through the middle sector. It's extremely close there, and he's close enough now. If he can maintain this gap on the exit of turn number 12, he should get an overtake done. So let's wait and see what happens. Here they go. Now down towards turn number 12, and we have got Max Verstappen. He is half a second, 0.6 of a second ahead of Carlos Sainz. Now, what have we got? Any messages from Verstappen? Is it don't fight these guys, continue fighting, and whatever they say to Verstappen, Verstappen's just going to do what he wants to do anyway. Here comes Sainz. He's activated the DRS. He is gaining, and he looks to the inside of the corner. Can he get that one done? Verstappen brakes extremely late there, and he still can't hold on. Sainz sends one down the inside, and there's not much that can be done. And Verstappen loses the position to Carlos Sainz there, and Leclerc is next up on the overtaking list. Can he get ahead of Max Verstappen? He's got the slipstream. There's no DRS coming down the main straight. He looks to the inside. Verstappen, does he leave the door open? Yes, he does, but Leclerc still can't get it done. Verstappen, I think, just swoops around the out. Oh no, Verstappen was on the inside line there, and he pushes Leclerc out. So he was fighting against Leclerc. The overtake against Sainz was a little bit too easy, I think. And Verstappen's now going to make it a little bit difficult for Leclerc to get an overtake done. And in fact, now that Sainz is going to be giving Verstappen DRS, that's going to make it even harder. So in the best interest of Ferrari, what Sainz has got to do now is break the DRS to Verstappen so that Leclerc can actually overtake him. Because if Sainz can't break DRS, then Verstappen's just going to sit in Sainz's DRS and Leclerc's not going to get an overtake done. And in fact, Leclerc's rears are really on fire there. He's overheating his rears a little bit too much, and the car's sliding around while he goes through the middle sector, and that's definitely not going to help him out. And Sainz has not broken DRS, and as they go through turn number 13 at the DRS detection point, Verstappen's got DRS on Leclerc, Verstappen's got DRS on Sainz, and Leclerc's got DRS on Verstappen, and we've got a nice little DRS train. And as it stands, folks, Max Verstappen is in 4th place of this race. Lando Norris is in 6th place. It's going to be a 4th World Drivers' Championship for Max Verstappen if the positions stay just the way they are. And even if Verstappen is in 5th position and Norris is in 6th, Max Verstappen is still world champion. Okay, wow, 24,000, 27,000 people watching the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. I'll be commentating for all of the Qatar Grand Prix. It's a sprint weekend, so I'll be doing the sprint races, the sprint qualies, the normal quali, and the normal race as well. And, yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope to see you next week for the Qatar Grand Prix. Let's wait and see now. What can Sainz do? Sainz actually... The gap between Sainz and Verstappen is smaller than the gap between Verstappen and Leclerc. In fact, it just was, but now it's broken again. But yeah, I think Sainz is actually Verstappen might just split the Ferraris there. Not ideal, really. Norris is setting a fastest first sector. Is Norris trying to go for a fast lap of the race here? Just one extra point that can help him out. I didn't think that's going to be enough anyway to keep the championship going. But yeah, we shall wait and see. Hamilton just now gets DRS, gets ahead of Valtteri Bottas going into turn number 15. Former teammates, of course. But now Bottas in last position and Hamilton in 2nd position. How the times have changed, really. Before it was Valtteri, it's James, and Bottas had to give up the position. Now it's the blue flags that are coming out to tell him to give way to Lewis Hamilton. Okay, we're on lap number 44 of 50, and Hamilton 5.2 seconds behind his teammate. I must say, a fantastic job from Hamilton, starting the race in 10th. If he started the race from even 3rd or 4th position, maybe he could have got ahead of Russell and gone on to win the race, but it looks like it's 2nd place for Lewis Hamilton. If it continues this way, as the drivers as Sainz, Verstappen, and Leclerc make their way through the straight between turn number 4 and 5, it's just the same story. Sainz hasn't broken the DRS to Verstappen, so Leclerc can't get an overtake done, and they came over the radio to Sainz and try and improve your pace, and Sainz just says, "I'm trying, guys, copy." So yeah, Sainz is doing his best trying to break DRS. In fact, look at that. It's 1.019 seconds. He might have just succeeded in breaking DRS. Oh, it's just dropped back down again. If he can get a good exit out at 12, that might just work out. But... Verstappen, no DRS. They've just come over the radio to Leclerc now. No DRS there for Max Verstappen. Sainz successfully broke the toe. So Leclerc's going to have a chance to gain, but Sainz still is giving a slipstream to Verstappen, and that's still helping him catch up a little bit. He's gained half a tenth going down that straight, but Leclerc's gained a lot more. So we've got another battle on our hands with 6 laps left to go of this race. Lando Norris with another fastest first sector. He's just going quick in the first sector, slow in all the other ones. I mean, not helping that much. He's got a 10-second gap to catch up to Leclerc, so it's probably nothing is really going to happen there. Yeah, witnessing a Mercedes 1-2, that is, I did not expect that. You know, when I woke up this morning, I would have expected maybe a Ferrari on the podium, maybe a Mercedes on the podium, and Max Verstappen maybe. But no. We've got a Mercedes 1-2 with a Ferrari on the podium. All right, Hülkenberg just manages to get ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Nicely done there from Hülkenberg. Started the race up in 9th position and now gained 1 position overall. Tsunoda started the race in 7th. He's down into 9th place. Hamilton with a fastest middle sector there. He's still pushing, trying to catch up to his teammate. But George Russell is just managing this gap like an absolute expert. Sainz has finally properly broken DRS here. The gap 1.01 seconds. Wait, what? Why has it just jumped up? Why has it said Leclerc is up in 3rd place? That's definitely a mistake. All right, and Verstappen. Oh, Verstappen has got DRS again, so apologies for that. Sainz hadn't broken DRS properly, and Verstappen still in the DRS train, and Leclerc might just get that fifth place, even though he probably has the pace for fourth. Okay, they've come over the radio to George saying, George, keep picking up the pace. Hamilton is still attacking, but he's got to gain 1 second a lap and then getting a final lap overtake done. I think that's pretty unlikely, to be honest. But we shall see. We shall see. Verstappen comes over the radio saying 5 laps remaining. Verstappen asks how many laps remaining, and they say 5 laps. So Verstappen's just waiting for the end of the race. He's trying to figure out how much longer he can defend against Charles Leclerc. And look at that gap now, 1.3 seconds. I think Sainz has actually done it this time. And Leclerc will have a real shot of overtaking Verstappen now as they head towards turn number 12 and 13. Max doesn't have the pace to attack. Yeah, he doesn't have the pace to attack. However, he may just have enough pace to hold on. But I think he's used his tyres a little bit too much now. And that gap, 1.5 seconds, he's going to be getting 0 slipstream now from Carlos Sainz. And he's just completely under threat from Charles Leclerc. Okay. So here we go. Charles Leclerc, he's got the DRS on Max Verstappen. The gap is half a second, and he is gaining and gaining. He looks to the inside here. Does Charles Leclerc on Max Verstappen, and can he get this overtake done? He sends one to the inside. Max Verstappen leaves the door open for him, and Charles Leclerc has got the overtake done. Very, very nicely done there from Charles. And Verstappen might try to re-overtake him as they go down towards turn number 1. And Verstappen did get a very good exit. In fact, he's gaining. He looks to the inside again. And Leclerc defends against it this time. Just like Verstappen did, I think 7 laps ago. Leclerc defends, and he gets that fourth position. So Ferrari actually doing a little bit better in the constructors than they were earlier, now that they've both overtaken Verstappen and the McLarens haven't. If we have a look at the constructors standings, there are going to be a couple more extra points for Ferrari, just helping them onwards to potentially win the World Constructors' Championship. So let's have a look. Ferrari scoring 27 points, McLaren still scoring 14. So it's going to be 13 points in the favour of Ferrari rather than 8, which it was earlier. Max is still world champion. Yeah, Max finishes ahead of Lando Norris. He'll still be world champion. Let me just double check that, because I don't want to say Max is world champion if he isn't. All right. If Norris finishes in P6, then Verstappen needs to finish at least in 7th to win the championship. And yeah, Verstappen's finishing in 5th. So, okie dokes. Anyone else feeling a George will pull a Max in Baku 2021? I don't think so. I mean, puncture is a little bit unlikely considering George's tyres are quite a bit fresher than everyone else's. Hamilton's tyres are 21 laps old. Russell's are 16 laps old. So, he has a little bit more leeway. And if anyone's tyres were to explode, it would probably be Piastri's or be Hamilton's rather than George Russell's. Okay. Sergio Perez has managed to claw his way back into 10th position, so he's going to be scoring 1 point for Red Bull, really helping out there, with Max Verstappen scoring, I think Verstappen scored more than 75% of the points at Red Bull this season, some crazy stat like that. Perez, he's helping out the team, and scoring that 1 point. All right, Hamilton still, though, with the fastest lap of the race, 3 laps left to go. I think, let's see, if Norris pits, he can get the fastest lap. Yeah, if Norris pits and Piastri still lets him out ahead, he can get the fastest lap. However, it's not going to matter, because even if Norris sets the fastest lap, he will still... Verstappen still will win the championship. So, yeah. All right. Here we go then. We are on lap number 48 of 53 laps remain of this Grand Prix. It's been fairly exciting, to be fair. Totally unpredictable who's going to win this race. And Lewis Hamilton has done a fantastic job there, starting the race in 10th position. I think he definitely deserves driver of the day. I think if Guan Yu Zhou hadn't pitted and tried to hang out and win this race, I would say Guan Yu Zhou would be driver of the day. However, Sauber decided to pit him, so I'm gonna put my vote for driver of the day at Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, let me know who you think your driver of the day is. We shall wait and see. Is Max world champion? Yeah, Norris comes into the pits. He's going to try and set a fastest lap. You just can't. You can just always predict this, can't you? Even if Norris sets the fastest lap, it's not going to matter, because if Norris sets the fastest lap and finishes in 6th position, Verstappen has to finish in at least 5th position, and he'll win the world championship. So, yeah, Orlando Pitts, I called it. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I called the Ferrari getting undercut by Hamilton. I called Lando Norris coming into the pits. I mean, I should just be a strategist here. Okay. Here we go then. We'll see what I think. Norris will get the fastest lap, but it doesn't matter anyway, because Max Verstappen will be a 4-time champion of the world soon enough. All right. And that gap up at the front as well. Russell, 7 seconds ahead of Hamilton. All of the hard work that Hamilton put in has just been undone by the fact that he's had to back off a little bit because he's pushed too hard on his tyres. And Russell comes across the line now for the final time. For the penultimate time. He's starting the final lap of the race. And here comes Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, and Max Verstappen in 5th place. Okay. Lewis has had an amazing race. You can definitely see, yeah, for certain. All right. F1 game is smarter than 98% of Ferrari strategists. What can you say? Maybe I need to get on the phone with Fred Vasseur or Toto Wolff. Show them, make them listen to my live streams, and then they'll know what's going on. I'm sure James Vowles, or Bono, they'll all be listening to my streams from the future, and they'll be listening in. But anyway, this has been a fantastic Grand Prix. George Russell has started the race from pole position. He dealt with Carlos Sainz on the opening lap. He has been building that gap ever since lap number 1, turn number 1, and a sensational qualifying lap to get pole position yesterday. A sensational drive from George Russell. He comes out of the final corner. He comes across the start-finish line, and George Russell wins the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Sensational drive. And now all eyes are on Max Verstappen. Since the turn of the millennium, we've had 3 fantastic, great drivers. We've had Michael Schumacher in the early 2000s. We've had Sebastian Vettel from 2010 onwards. And then we've had Lewis Hamilton. But now another driver joins the greats. Make it 4 for Max Verstappen. He crosses the line to become a 4-time champion of the world. What a drive from Verstappen. Simply lovely. 4 in a row from Max. Just like Sebastian Vettel, and you just cannot write this, really. This race, this season has been sensational, and Verstappen comes across the line to win the World Drivers' Championship. Simply lovely, as he would put it. Lando Norris, despite all of his best effort, he will set a fastest lap of the race, but it will not be enough to delay the championship. And Norris comes across the line with the fastest lap, and the championship has been sealed and dealed. A four-time world champion is Max Verstappen. The Red Bull crew are overjoyed, and all of their hard work has paid off. It's a world championship for Max Verstappen, another one. Simply lovely. Right. What a race this has been, folks. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm very, very glad that you all stuck around till the end of the Grand Prix. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. It's been a brilliant weekend for racing. It's been a brilliant weekend for Lewis Hamilton, for Mercedes. Ferrari get closer to winning the Constructors' Championship. They're gaining more and more points on McLaren. They gained 12 points overall on McLaren this race. If they can do that 2 more times, they will end up Constructors' Champions. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. I'm going to end the stream now. I'll take you over to the Qatar Grand Prix stream. If you could just hit the like button on the Qatar Grand Prix stream and the reminder button, it hugely, hugely helps out the channel. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. We've had 50 laps of sensational racing here in Las Vegas. Max Verstappen is a 4-time world champion. And I will see you in 1 week's time for the sprint race in Qatar, where we're going to have non-stop action between the Ferraris and the McLarens for the World Constructors' Championship. Okie dokes. Yeah, that's been it from me. And be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and especially the like button on the Qatar Grand Prix Qatar Grand Prix stream. Yeah, see you in 1 week's time. Cheers, folks.